Hi, my name is Donna Hovey, and I'm going to be taking you through a Mimix virtual switch. So I have two systems in my environment. iSeries B is my target. iSeries A is my source system. And then there's some requirements that need to be met in order to be able to do a virtual switch. And you have to have an application group. So work application group. You have to have your nodes defined. So option 12, which shows you your recovery domain. And you can see here that system A is my primary system and system B is my backup. And this is the current values, but you can do an F10 and see how it was originally configured, and you'll see that it's the same as the configured value. And then I have one resource group. And if I do an option 8, I can show you my one data group that I have running for this environment. And I'm replicating basically just one file. Okay. So let me go back to command line. Target journal inspection does need to be turned on for all of your local journals on your target system, because that is how Mimix keeps track of all the changes that were made on the target during the virtual switch test. So to check that, do a work journ defen, and you'll see that journal inspection column on the right is all set to yes. So we're good to go there. And obviously the objects and files have to be journaled on the target as well. And recoveries need to be turned on, which is in your policies. So if you do a set Mimix policy F4 to bring up the parameters, and we'll just bring up the installation, which means all of the data groups have these values, or at least this is how it is. This is how it's defined for the installation level. And here is the three recoveries, and they're all enabled. If we want to make sure that this wasn't overwritten at the data group level, we can put in our data group, hit enter, and you can see that these three are set to the installation, and the installation is set to have those recoveries enabled. So what the virtual switch process does is it does not actually switch the direction of the data groups. It simply suspends the apply processes, both database and object. So it doesn't apply anything, but the remote journaling and the database reader and all of that, those jobs are still active and processing as normal. So all of the work that's happening on your production system is still getting sent to the target, just not applied. And to make sure that we have everything as needed, configured correctly to do this virtual switch, and make sure there's no errors in the Mimix environment, we're going to run a pre-check virtual switch procedure. So we're going to go into work AG, and if you do F23 to get more parameters, you can do the 20 to look at your procedures. These are all shipped default procedures. And you can see down here that there is a pre-check for a regular switch and a pre-check for a virtual. We are going to run the virtual. So we're just going to take option 9 to run it. So that's kicked off. We're going to F12. Now we're going to go into the procedure status, which is 21. And you can see that the procedure is active, and I just hit refresh and it completed without any errors. So that's good. Next, we're good to go. So we're going to try to do the virtual switch. From the Work with Application Group screen, take option 15, but you want to make sure that you change the switch type to virtual. And my current node rows are correct, so that I want that to be start current. If they're not, it happen to be. If you want it to be start configured, you can change that. But that looks good. We're going to hit enter. So this kicks out the procedure. If I hit F5 here, you'll see my procedures active over here. But to really see the details, we want to do 21. And then option 8 to look at the steps within the procedures. And on this screen, I usually hit F7, so it drills down to the data group level, because that's usually the line that has the error, is the step that runs against the data group. You can see the status over to the right. These are all completed. Page down. Some of them are disabled by default, which is fine. You can tweak your procedures and steps quite a lot, so that's nice. All right, so it's fairly quick, but when you do see the procedure status and a message wait, you're going to go take a look at that message. You do F12, 11 to display the message, and let me just do an F1 on there. So this is the message that you do not want to respond to until you're done with your testing. So this tells you, okay, you're ready to get on your target, and you can change files and do whatever is needed to test your application. So we don't want to respond to that until after the testing is done. And I'm going to go ahead and make a couple updates to my file just to simulate doing a test on the target system. And I also want to show you the work data group screen. Notice that the direction did not change, but my target apply processes are in a virtual switch. So what you'll see when you go into the database status screen is the RJ link's active, the reader's active. The only thing that is in yellow should be your applies, because they're not going to apply anything. It keeps track of where it was left off. And so all the changes that you make on the target system during this time are being captured by target journal inspection. And so Mimix knows what it needs to fix after we answer this message. And at the very end of this procedure, it submits all of the audits to run as well. So, so let's say we're done with our testing. We can go ahead and respond to that error message, which, by the way, is going to be also in QSysOper. Make sure you look at the procedure, or look at the message, excuse me, because we're going to want to do a G to continue. Okay, let's go back to our procedure status screen. You'll see it's active again. Let's go into the steps, F7. And then you kind of just watched its progress here. Shouldn't take very long to fix that one file. There we go. So the overall procedure status is completed with no errors. You can see that the last thing it did was submit all the audits. So if I go back to my Work AG screen, my procedure status is completed, and if I look at my data group, it is back to all blue. So that is how you do a virtual switch test in very high level. Like I said, there's a lot of tweaking you could do. You could change some steps. You could customize steps. But for a virtual switch, you really want to just make sure that you're replicating everything that you need to, and your application is running fine on your target system. Thank you.